Gallup poll came out with a new report yesterday. U.S. national pride falls to record low. Gallup has been following the pride that Americans have in their country for about 2 decades. In 2003, 93% of Americans said that they were exceptionally proud or very proud of America, the United States. In 2013, that had sunk to 85%, and today, 2020, as this report came out yesterday, it is now down to 63%, a 30% drop over less than 2 decades in the amount of pride that Americans have in their country. Now, pride in one's country is pretty normal. Some people think that this country or that country is exceptionally proud, but go to the Olympics or watch the Olympics on television and you see that all people are proud of their country. They're happy with where they come from, at least most people are. And even 63% shows that most Americans are still very happy with their country. But that has certainly shrunk, and it's not a good sign for the future. Pride is something, though, that can create an intoxicating effect. For example, the Nazis during World War II were very proud of their military, their power, and it becomes an intoxicant, you might say, and gets out of hand and causes people to do things that they shouldn't do. The United States was in a slumber for a while. A number of years, the economy of our country had been stagnant or only growing very, very slowly. A new president came in with the slogan, "Make America Great Again." And he began to bring jobs back to America with the policies that were put into place. And the unemployment rate sunk to somewhere around 3.5%, I think even a little bit lower than that, but very low. And employment among minorities was the highest it had ever been, among women, among people in general. And so a certain amount of pride was exhibited there. So much so that our president was always telling us how wonderful and how great the country was. And there's no doubt that during the first 3 years of his presidency, the United States was on a comeback, at least economically, if not in other ways. Now, America has much to be prideful about, if you want to look at it that way. Our economic power has been unmatched in the world. Our military might is unmatched. Our industrial might. These are things that could be disputed, I suppose, but most people, I think, agree with that. But there's another problem that we have, though, and that is that we have disobeyed our Creator, and we have assigned to ourselves the ability to bring about all these things all by our own efforts. It's easy to think that we did it ourselves, but God shows that it is He who gives economic power. It is He who protects nations militarily and otherwise. Before Babylon fell, they thought that they were invincible, that nobody could take over them. But in one night, the great Babylonian Empire fell through what we might call asymmetrical warfare, through a trick of changing the water flow and then coming in through the riverbed. Pride is something that is not good in many respects. There's certainly the desire to be pleased with one's country, but we should never forget where our blessings arise, and that is with our Creator. It's interesting that at the beginning of 2020, the United States was riding high, very high, and in less than a month or so, our economy had sunk to new depths, to the depths of depression, you might say. Unemployment rose dramatically over a short period of time. It's not surprising that when we reject God, that bad things can happen, and bad things continue to happen. And it is interesting that you hear the term the perfect storm over and over again. And I have an article on that subject in our upcoming Tomorrow's World magazine, which is a free magazine, goes out to over 300,000 people, absolutely free of charge. But you hear that expression over and over again because it's one disaster upon another. Now, when we hear the bragging about our country and how it is the greatest and the best and all this sort of thing, my wife and I wince a little bit Now you might ask, well, why is that? Well, because we believe in the Bible and what it says. And there's a proverb that says that pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. That's from Proverbs 16:18. When we look at other scriptures back in the book of Leviticus, there's a prophecy there where God said to the ancient nation of Israel, but it applies to far more than that ancient nation. He said, look, if you obey me, if you keep my commandments, I will bless you above all people on the face of the earth. You'll have great agricultural wealth. I will give you good weather. Your enemies will flee before you. But then in verse 14, the tone changes and he says, but if you do not obey me and do not observe all these commandments, and if you despise my statutes, that's where we are today. That's where we are, my friends. We are at the place where we despise God's commandments. I don't mean necessarily you and me, but our nation as a whole. We want to reject God as our creator. We want to substitute chance as our creator, blind evolution. And so God is letting us live in a world of chance. If you despise my statutes, or if your soul abhors my judgments, so that you do not perform all my commandments, but break my covenant, I also will do this to you. If you do this, reject God's commandments, he says, I will even appoint terror over you. And so now we have the fear of terror just go through an airport any time. Even worldwide, that's what we have, because the world has rejected God's commandments. But then he says, wasting disease and fever, which shall consume the eyes and cause sorrow of heart. Well, we have AIDS, which certainly is a wasting disease. Tuberculosis is on a comeback in some areas. We have a number of diseases, and certainly COVID is a disease where people literally waste away a little bit faster than some other diseases, but nevertheless, they waste away. Wasting disease and fever, which shall consume the eyes and cause sorrow of heart. And then he talks about how our agriculture is going to be affected. Yes, God does control the weather. Not man, but God controls the weather, and he can shut off the rain any time that he feels is necessary to help us to come back to the reality that it is not us who produce wealth, but it is he, the creator. And then he goes on to say, I will break the pride of your power. America has had great pride in its military power, in its economic power, in its industrial might. But God is beginning to break that pride. And even Gallup points out that our people are beginning to see that. We are beginning to lose that pride in the greatness of America because we have rejected our Creator. I hope that you will sign up to our YouTube channel. Just sign up as you can. That way you don't miss any of these videos. Also, hit that bell. That way you'll be reminded when a new one comes out. And this is Gerald Weston for June the 16th, 2020. In spite of all the problems we have, I hope that you personally have a great and wonderful day.